Live with local sports coverage you can count on. This is CBS 42 Sports Sunday.
Get ready for life without sports, at least for the very near future. Professional leagues, the NCAA, even high schools, all coming to the same conclusion this past week. Sports as you know it, coming to a grinding halt thanks to the coronavirus pandemic. The health and safety of Americans, the focus for everyone for the next month, and maybe even longer. To say anyone saw this coming would be a bold-faced lie. Welcome into Sports Sunday. I'm Drew Carter. It's surreal, to say the least. All the things that have happened just in the last 5 days, a time of year when most people are filling out their brackets and preparing for spring football, plus Major League Baseball, and gearing up for the start of the NBA and NHL playoffs. All of it is either canceled or on hold tonight. The biggest impact from this pandemic can be seen on the college level. Check this out. More than a dozen NCAA winter and spring championships have been canceled. The silver lining here, the NCAA announced that it will grant eligibility relief to seniors that played spring sports. Half of their seasons were wiped out last week. CBS 42 was in Nashville Thursday when the SEC men's basketball tournament was canceled just an hour before Alabama and Tennessee were scheduled to tip things off. After Wednesday's first round, the league decided to continue playing with limited attendance. But early Thursday morning, that changed to a full cancellation. It was a decision Commissioner Greg Sankey did not take lightly.
But I've not had a situation as difficult and emotional as this one. To make a recommendation to our presidents and chancellors that we cancel the remainder of our men's basketball tournament was a moment where I had to stop and actually catch myself and recompose myself.
The commish released another statement tonight on Twitter thanking the fans for their understanding during these unprecedented times. And he said SEC leadership will continue to address the situation as it evolves over the next few weeks and months. So no March Madness, no College World Series, but spring football is safe, right? Wrong. The SEC announced Friday that all organized team activities, including meetings and practices, will be suspended through April 15th. That means Alabama and Auburn's A-Day games are officially in jeopardy as of this weekend. Auburn's is scheduled for April 11th, while Alabama's was set for April 18th. Even if the suspension were lifted on the 15th, it's hard to imagine the Tide hosting an A-Day with only 1 or 2 practices under their belts.
The ball is tipped, and there you are.
But back to college hoops. Any fan of the big dance knows the next words to that song. With no March Madness, there's no one shining moment, so Max Gorin of YouTube got creative. I highly recommend watching this entire video to combat your tourney withdrawals. There was some hope a few days ago that even without conference tournaments or March Madness, the NCAA would at least give us some semblance of Selection Sunday and release brackets. Well, we learned today that's not going to happen either. Dan Gavitt, VP of Men's Hoops for the NCAA, wrote this, quote, "The important work of the basketball committees is to set up competitively balanced brackets to determine national champions. I don't believe it's responsible or fair to do that with incomplete seasons, especially for tournaments that unfortunately won't be played." He continued, "Therefore, there will not be any NCAA Division I men's and women's basketball championship selection shows or tournament brackets released this year." That leaves Auburn fans wondering, what if? Auburn was a lock for the field of 68, no matter what happened in the SEC tourney. Now, we ran a computer simulation of the big dance using the website whatifsports.com. Based on the final projection of the brackets from CBS, might as well run right through it tonight. Check this out. We start with the East region. You see Auburn here as a 5 seed. And take a look at this. North Texas pulling off the 3-14 upset round 1. They lose to Rutgers in round 2. Here's what we've got in the Sweet 16. St. Mary's takes down Dayton, the 1 seed up there. So Auburn's path kind of opens after they beat Louisville. Auburn wins here, and the Tigers are heading back to the Final Four. So looking at Auburn's resume, they go back to the Final Four, 28-6 on the season. Another shot at the Natty. Bruce Pearl officially becomes a legend on the Plains. Moving on now to the Midwest. Kansas is the top seed, not just in this region, but in the entire nation, and they look like it. You see they go step by step all the way into the Final Four. Some other notable results from this region, though. How about Illinois? A little renaissance for the Illini, and everybody likes this. When you take down Duke, you're America's team. So Illinois goes here, and East Tennessee also with an outstanding performance there. But now we've got that half of the Final Four bracket filled out. Kansas has to be a heavy favorite to win it all at this point. The overall #1 seed, one of the top players in the country in Udoka Azubuike plus Devon Dotson. Now on to the South region. Kansas, as the 1 seed from the Big 12, made the Final Four. Can Baylor take care of business as well? We see they win a couple of games, but then Ohio State takes them down. A lot of good Big 10 showings in this region so far. And then a couple upsets right in the middle, Bradley and Richmond. LSU, though, goes bang, bang, bang. They beat Florida State, and they go on to the Final Four. So a lot of shockers in our bracket so far. This is probably the biggest one yet. A 10-seed Tigers team is going to Atlanta. They're just the second ever to do it, behind Syracuse back in 2016. And finally tonight, the West region. Keep in mind who we've got so far. Gonzaga's your 1 seed. San Diego State's your 2 seed. This is where it gets absolutely ridiculous. They both lose round 1. Guys, this simulation is not that crazy. We saw a 1 seed make it earlier, but they both lose in the first round. After that, it is utter pandemonium. Colorado, UCLA, all Pac-12 playing out west. UCLA in a home game in LA, they win. So 11 seed UCLA makes the improbable run to the Final Four. 4 11 seeds have gone to the Final Four previously. 1986 LSU, 2006 George Mason, 2011 VCU, and 2018 Loyola Chicago. So what happens in our mythical, magical Final Four? You'll have to wait till the end of our show to find out. But for now, next on Sports Sunday, a sport you may not be familiar with, quickly gaining popularity across the Birmingham area. We go inside the pickleball fever. Plus, one of the inductees into the 2020 Alabama Sports Hall of Fame will be a first of his kind when he's inducted in May. And this guy's story has been anything but ordinary. You do not want to miss it. It's coming up next on Sports Sunday.
You're watching CBS 42 local sports coverage you can count on with Chris Brees, Simone Eli, and Drew Kerner. This is CBS 42 Sports Sunday.
It's one of the fastest growing sports in the country, and it's taking over right here in Birmingham. Pickleball. Folks of all ages make up leagues at the JCC. Pickleball players describe the sport as a mix between tennis and ping pong. It's a great way to exercise, and it's a sport for everybody.
It's a sport for all ages. I've played with younger kids. There's a 16-year-old that we play against. Man, he is amazing. He's really good. But then it's so encouraging to see young people out as well as middle-aged like me. And then, of course, my mom. She's in her 70s, and she's now playing.
For more information on how you can become a pickleball pro, and who wouldn't want that, head to our website, cbs42.com. In less than 2 months, on May 2nd in downtown Birmingham, the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame will induct its 52nd class of honorees. The list includes 8 former athletes or coaches, but only one of them will be making history for his individual sport. Chris Brees joins us with that story.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Doug Kennedy had the kind of career that just about every athlete would die for. And on May 2nd, when he gets inducted to the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame, history will be made because Doug will be the first of his kind. It's the kind that will never quit.
On a quiet street in Haleyville, Alabama, there lives a world champion.
Brings back a lot of memories.
He's maybe the best marathon racer ever.
This was a great time in my life. It's the only time I ever got to go to the White House.
At one time, he held world records in 4 different long-distance events.
Just sort of reminders, I guess you'd say, of what you did, where you've been in your life. It's life's a journey.
For Doug Kennedy, life is all about what you make it. In 1984, Doug was 26 and working at the lumberyard until one horrific fall.
We get the truck loaded, and I'm starting to get down. I remember when I land, it like knocked the breath out of me, and I was trying to get up then, and people were holding me down.
Doug shattered 3 vertebrae in the middle of his back. Doctors told him he would never walk again.
People say you can't do something. I'm the type of guy, don't tell me what I can't do. I want to show you what I can do.
And here comes Kennedy, and it's going to be Kennedy.
So what did Doug do? He became maybe the greatest wheelchair racer in history. A gold medal at the 1990 Goodwill Games, silver at the '88 Olympics in Seoul, South Korea. He even got his own Wheaties box.
Winning's not everything. It's the only thing. I can't even sit down and play a game of checkers with my grandson and let him win. It ain't in me. I can't do that.
So in this sleepy town of Haleyville, Alabama,
Gotta get Harv in here.
resides a relentless world champion.
Oh, Harv, him the man. He's my bodyguard.
A man who won't take no for an answer.
Don't ever let nobody tell you you can't. Don't ever let nobody tell you can't do anything. I wasn't anybody special. I was just Doug Kennedy, just your average Joe, trying to make a living for my family, struck down, confined to a wheelchair, fell in love with wheelchair racing, and just mindset to be the best that I could be in it.
And now, forever enshrined in Alabama's Sports Hall of Fame.
Come on, Harv. Let's go do it, buddy. Let's go put them up.
I told you earlier, Doug will be the first of his kind to be inducted. Well, the Sports Hall of Fame has never had a wheelchair athlete, and Doug is hoping that he has opened the door for future generations and what you can do if you simply put your mind to it.
That's awesome, Chris. Hey, coming up next, that quarterback battle between Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts seems like forever ago. But just 2 seasons later, a new battle is expected to dominate the headlines in T-Town. We break that down coming up next on Sports Sunday. Earlier this week, the CBS 42 sports team came together. We give our thoughts on that quarterback battle.
I want to put this very bluntly. Mac Jones right now is the starter in Nick Saban's eyes. But there's going to be a possibility that either Bryce Young, when he comes in as a freshman, already going to be on campus, and Talia Tagovailoa, both contending for that top spot. Realistically, is this Mac Jones' job to win?
I think it's his job to lose. I think it's his job going into the season because he's the guy with experience. You have a true freshman and you have Talia Tagovailoa who hasn't played very many meaningful snaps. So when you look at that situation, could Bryce come in and just set the world on fire? Absolutely. Talia Tagovailoa is very talented. We saw him in high school, but how much is that going to translate to what Alabama's looking for? He's not Tua.
The offense was not the issue in the Iron Bowl loss. They scored 46 points. They were great in the Citrus Bowl. But guys, we're already speculating, so I'm just going to say screw it. I'm going to say Bryce Young's going to start. The guy
just to say it.
Just to stoke the fire a little bit. We saw with Jalen Hurts a couple years ago. Nick Saban is not afraid to start a freshman. I think there's probably a perception around the country that Saban's an old school guy because he's been doing this forever. But we saw this a few years ago. He will start a freshman if he's good enough, and Bryce Young is good enough.
You say that, but you have to look back at 2016 and what their situation was. Yeah. Jalen Hurts was not sitting behind a Mac Jones who just threw for a bunch of yards. You're looking at Cooper Bateman and Blake Barnett, who were the quarterbacks who had not played a game, by the way.
Hey, I think that
very
in Europe now.
Different situation in 2016 for Jalen Hurts. My thing with Bryce Young is just the fact that think of Tua in 2017 when he came in. No one had any expectation he was going to play. Sure. His first real meaningful snaps was the second half against Georgia in the national title game. So I'm not ready to say that Bryce Young is going to come in and notice no one's talking about Talia. He's either going to start or he's going to transfer, and that's going to be a big dilemma for anybody who wants him to be the quarterback. All right, next topic here on Sports Sunday. There's been a little interesting debate going on with Major League Baseball and spring practice. Of course, we've seen the Astros players and what's happening with other pitchers and other teams are actually hitting them. Some are saying on purpose because the players are avoiding punishment for the scandal that the team has not even gotten in trouble for yet when they won a title back in 2017. Is it justified for teams to be throwing at a player who may or may not have known about the cheating scandal?
All right, so I want to come out and I want to preface what I'm about to say with this. I'm not pro-Astros by any means. What they did was awful and terrible for the integrity of the game. That being said, no one should be throwing at them. It's one thing for the fans to come out here and boo them. You call them Jose Altuve, put a trash can on your head and bang it every time they come into the plate. That's great. That's all in good fun. It's a different thing when you've got 100 miles an hour coming right at your chin. That's dangerous. And what they did was terrible, no doubt. I don't think it has earned that. No, really nothing you can do has earned that punishment.
Before I agree with him, I'll let you go ahead.
All I'm going to say is this. it's expected, okay? It's part of the game. I don't think it's a good thing. I think that someone could be seriously injured. We've seen guys get hit in the head, broken jaws, eye socket, you name it. It can happen, but people expected it to happen. Guys are mad. People from different leagues and different sports are upset about what happened with the Astros, and people did get in trouble. I mean, they lost executives at the very top, maybe not guys down actually committing the crimes, but people did get in trouble for this, and people are mad about it. Other players are mad. Am I saying it's the right thing to do? Absolutely not. But it's happening, and it's expected. It's a part of the game.
There was a certain league that came into existence just this last year. Call it re-existence, because the XFL was back once upon a time a thing in 2001. They learned their lesson, and they came back this year, a whole revamped thing under Vince McMahon. But we're looking at a league. You look at the ratings. The first week, 3 million viewers was excellent. But we're on week 5 right now, guys. 800,000 viewers. It has gone down significantly, about 75%. Now, the big question is going to be, Drew, is this league going to be like the AAF and fold? That was less than a year, obviously. Are they going to get a second year?
That's the money question, and obviously we're going to compare it to the AAF because, like you just said, that's fresh in our memories from last year, especially here in Birmingham with the Iron, who seemed like they were doing pretty well. Then all of a sudden the league doesn't exist anymore. I don't think they'll be around in 2 or 3 years. Give them 1 year maybe. I thought initially because they were branding themselves as a minor league to the NFL, maybe this would work, but the AAF did the same thing. It's easy to forget that. They came out and said, it's okay, we're going to be a feeder league. It's okay to be the little brother, and they still failed. XFL gambling might help, but I still think they fold.
Until the NFL adopts somebody, wraps their arms around them and says, you're going to be our feeder league, and we're going to help you and all the funding, money situation, this is not going to last.
Right.
I mean, not that, my opinion truly matters that much. I haven't watched a snap in the XFL. Not one. Not a live snap in the XFL. I've watched highlights back. I have not watched a meaningful snap. The interest, I don't think, is there for a lot of people.
Well, it seems like the average viewer is the person who checked it out the first week and said, well, this may or may not be for me. And then they wean interest. You want to talk about TV deals and what the AAF had. The AAF was in trouble from day one. They were on CBS once, they were on CBS Sports Network a couple times, and then they were online. The fact that the XFL has ABC, ESPN, Fox, and Fox Sports 1, that alone is going to let them stay afloat this year. Now, what you say in the long run, can they stay afloat in the long run? I agree with you. If the NFL does not get on board, to me, this league will not last past, I'll call it next year.
And here's the problem. The NFL has no incentive to create a minor league. With MLB, you can't try
College is their minor league.
Exactly. You can see Saquon Barkley as a rookie was maybe the best offensive player in the league right away. I mean, these guys come right out of college. There's no reason to have a minor league, so I think it'll fail.
Guys, I'm proud of all of us because no one shouted.
Yeah, let me check
no
my
one got offended.
I'm feeling good. I'm breathing nice.
And we're all happy. So let's end on a good note. We'll be right back.
You're watching CBS 42 Sports Sunday.
This weekend, NFL players voted to approve a new collective bargaining agreement with the league's owners. It runs through 2030. Big parts of the deal, a 17-game regular season and 14 playoff teams. All right, so we promised you a look at our mythical Final Four. Let's just go straight to the title game. All SEC, all Tigers, 10-seed LSU and 5-seed Auburn. And it is Auburn in a close one. 85-81, they're the mythical national champions. Samir Dowdy is your MOP with a 19-point performance. So Auburn fans might not be any consolation for losing in the Final Four last year or losing your tournament altogether this year, but you are the hypothetical champs. Hey, last Sports Sunday for a while. Sports World is shut down. Thanks for watching with us. We'll be back sometime in the foreseeable future. But for now, I'm Drew Carter. For our entire team here at CBS 42, thank you for watching. Have a good night.